emotion, being around a bunch of what seemed like, I don't know, I didn't ask everybody, but happy people to be together with Christians around the world, not just around the country, but around the world, declaring the name of the Lord, singing songs of praise, being challenged in classes at a way that is hard sometimes, being challenged in a way that's easy sometimes, but being at Pepperdine is great. So for you who are visiting, hi, I'm Gavin, I'm a minister here. We went to Pepperdine University for Bible lectures, and selfish plug, you can go online and find the class that I taught. It was only okay. The other ones were great. Mine was just, it was good. Come and check it out and be blessed by all those who spoke. They're all free. You can go online and find all those lessons and lectures. Some were videoed, some were just recorded, but it's a great blessing and a resource. They used to make you pay for them. Now they just give them away. So check them out. We've been in a series called Not So Superheroes, and we're going to be in, I just like this picture, so I'm going to leave it in, part 2 of Moses. As I was doing this, I realized there is no way I could do Moses in only 2 parts. There will be a part 3. The epic saga, one man called by God in a wilderness. God calls us, all of us, regardless of where we're at, how we feel about ourselves, where we come from, what we look like, to Him, to do some things guaranteed that will freak you out. My class this week, just to share how that works, is I taught a class on my daughter, made it really easy for me to teach, but it's called Created in His Image. Everything I needed to learn about God, I learned from my daughter with a disability. The reason I taught this class is because sometimes out of innocence and ignorance, we say things that we wish we could take right back, like, if sin wasn't in the world, your daughter would not have been born that way. And I go, so is she broken? Did we fail? You know what I mean? You get these words that don't make sense. That wasn't just used for people with disabilities. Guess what? They used to use that with race. They used to use that with, certain places you were from. Like, you were subservient to others because God loves us, not so much you. And that's because sin is in the world and you look like a sinful person. I want to tell you something. Those are lies. It's not true. God will call you. And sometimes in the midst of your worst, He'll call you. And sometimes when you're not ready to do something big, He'll call you. And that's what it was for us. And I made the mistake of saying, I think if anybody should raise a child with a disability, probably me. I have this experience. I love those kids. I'm drawn to them. Guess what God does to you? Answers prayers or random comments that you say. And there's going to be times in your life that you are going to get something that is so unexpected to you that you're going to feel a tug on your heart and you're going to not know what to do with that. Can I just give you some encouragement to lean into that? To trust that what God has for you is good, and that you alone, the reason you're afraid of that commitment or that call is because you can't do that by yourself. But God has some plans for His kingdom, and He will use you regardless of if you're willing or not. We see that in the story of Moses. We see this when God comes and approaches him, but we also see how God works in this story through someone like Pharaoh too. These are 2 different kinds of people, but each of them came before the Lord and didn't want to be a part of it at one point. So last week, if you weren't here with us, we did the backstory. Every good superhero has a backstory, right? Spider-Man's was Uncle Ben dying after he got bit by the spider, and he could have rescued him. So he gets bit by the radioactive spider, realizes he has all these powers, doesn't necessarily know what to do with all of them. He's going around doing his own thing, kind of filling himself up, and he could have probably stopped the mugger that ends up killing his uncle. And his uncle gives him that great line, with great responsibility, with great power comes great responsibility. With Batman, what fueled him was his parents got killed, and he vowed, I will be this Avenger, right? He wasn't an Avenger, but you know what I mean. We can go down the line. Every superhero has a story. They don't all come from like this magical great place. Not everybody is born in Asgard, like Thor, which is chiseled handsome, except for some of us. Work in progress. Shy, thanks for the confidence. So we learned that Moses' backstory is floating in a raft down the river. He should have died. All the boys were getting killed. Pharaoh did not like that the Israelites were growing at the rate that they were growing at. They weren't Israelites. They were Hebrews, but it's okay. Didn't like it so much. So he told the midwives, kill all the boys. They said, no thanks. We like God. We don't want to get punished by him. He got frustrated. There was this decree. All the boys needed to die. Moses' mom saw that he was a fine boy. Sent him down the river. Actually kept him for a while. Couldn't hide him any longer to protect him, so she sent him down the river. God has plans. Pharaoh's daughter finds this young boy, has pity on this young boy. Raises him up in the palace of Pharaoh. And then Moses goes through the struggle of figuring out where he fits in. I'm not really a Hebrew. I am, but I'm not. I don't know what it's like to get all of this punishment and all of this pain because I'm living in the palace, but I see my people getting hurt. And I'm not really an Egyptian because they don't really see me that way either. I'm just kind of walking around life, not knowing where I fit in. And he tries to jump into one. And he sees an Egyptian really giving it to one of his people. And so he strikes him and kills him and hides him in the sand and runs away. Actually, later he says, hey guys, why are you arguing? To his own people. And they say, what are you going to do? Kill us like you did the Egyptian? And he knew immediately, everybody knows my secrets. And he runs, because that's what we do as people. The moment our secrets come out, and they're no longer secrets, we own up or we take off. Majority of us go, and we get the superhero speed, not so superhero power of running away. He runs away, he starts to change his life. He wants to do good. He saves some women who are bringing their animals up to get some water. He ends up marrying one of them and taking care of Jethro's flock, and he's trying to just do this new life thing. And if you ever run away from God and he's called you to something, and you're like, I'm good. I'm going to go do my own thing. And God still finds you in your own thing. This is where we run into Moses. He doesn't just run into him like, hey, Moses. He does it in the way that is like, let's look. Get your Bibles out. Exodus chapter 3. A lot of verses here. Be ready. In your imagination, if you don't like to read, just pretend it's a comic book strip. Use your imagination. Now Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian. And he led the flock to the far side of the wilderness and came to Horeb, mountain of God. There, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in flames of fire from within a bush. Moses saw that through the bush, saw that though the bush was on fire, it did not burn up. This makes you think he's probably seen some bushes catch on fire. I don't see this as being the most tropical place. Sometimes things would get hot, things would happen, things would catch on fire. If you don't believe me, go to Southern California. Things happen sometimes. We don't get, but this is something that he hasn't seen before. A bush not only was on fire, but it wasn't being consumed. And like any smart person, he goes towards it. Right? Isn't that what we do? Hey, there's something over there. I will go over there and see see this strange sight. Why the bush does not burn up, right? This is why women live longer than guys. Because this is what we do. That thing's on fire. Let's check it out. When the Lord saw that he had gone over there to look, God called him from within the bush. Moses, Moses. And this is not typical, because I think I would need a change of clothes. And he says, here I am. Isn't that weird? I think God speaks, and when God speaks, we are like trembling, and we're in fear a little bit, but we're also comforted to know that there's something going on that is so much bigger. Okay. Do not come any closer, God said. Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground. Then he said, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. At this, Moses hid his face because he was afraid to look at God. The Lord said, I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt, and I have heard them crying out because of their slave drivers, and I am concerned about their suffering. So I have come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them up out of the land into a good and spacious land, one flowing of milk and honey, the home of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, say that 3 times fast. At this point, wouldn't you imagine that Moses is probably sitting there going, yeah, God, you should totally do that, right? I don't think he has a clue what's coming next. Because I think if all of us heard this, right, if Elk Grove was under such persecution, and we were praying to God for our Elk Groveites, Elk Grovians, Elk Grove people, and the Lord said, I'm going to free your people out of all of this misery. We'd be like, yeah, you are. I love this God. And then he does this, and then you shudder. Now the cry of the Israelites has reached me, and I have seen the Egyptians are oppressing them. So now go. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. This is where you look over your shoulder and you go, oh, somebody else, right? Can't be me. Because I think you know what I did. I think you know what I've done. I think you know that I don't belong and this isn't the right person for you. And I say that because maybe I'm speaking for myself. Haven't you done it? Haven't you felt the call to do the will of God? You read through his word. He's called you to do something. You're afraid, so you don't do it. You don't think you're the skilled one. Somebody else is better to do this than I am. There's got to be somebody more qualified. Who am I? I'm just Moses. I ran away from them because I screwed up. Why would you send me back? Don't you know they want to kill me? There's got to be somebody better. God knows things about you that you don't know about yourself. And he's innately put some things in you. David talks about this in Psalms 139. He talks about how, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. He says things like, you knew everything about me. Before I was even in my mother's womb, you knit me together in the darkest place. Nothing about me is hidden from you. All of my days are ordained in your book. God knows the things about you that you don't know about yourself. And sometimes he comes in a fiery place to say, you're my man. Time to get off the bench. Time to stand up. Time to be bold, to be courageous. And you know what we offer? We're going to see in a second. It's not good. But Moses said to God, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring out the Israelites out of Egypt? And God said, I'll be with you. And this will be the sign to you that I have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God on his mountain. On this mountain. Moses said to God, suppose I go to the Israelites and say to them, the God of your father sent me to you. And they ask me, what is his name? What should I tell them? Isn't it interesting? This isn't like he doesn't know. This is kind of like, I need to know. I need to know who it is and what name I can proclaim when I get there. God said to Moses, I am who I am. And it was not Popeye, for those who are old enough to know. Which is weird, because I don't feel that old. But anyways, I am who I am. And this is what you are to say to the Israelites. I am has sent me to you. This is a big deal. Look at how it's written. I didn't make that capitalized. But when they wrote this Yahweh, I am, this is God, the one God. This is a big deal. You think this should be enough, right? This should be enough. And he keeps going. God said to Moses, say to the Israelites, the Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob has sent me to you. This is my name forever. The name you shall call me from generation to generation. This should be enough. The God, the one God, the God of all, God of creation, God of our fathers, has sent me. And I would be like, okay, cool. Bushes on fire, it's not burning up. It sounds like it's God. He has the right things. It feels right. I'm just going to go. But no, we do this more than, we should have nothing but like, yeah, Moses, I get you. Because when God calls me, I give super excuses. That's my superhero power. with all of the call and force that you could put on me to feel like I need to do your will, I can give you equal amount of, passion for my excuses. With every harder thumb in my heart, I give you an even better pushback. I'm not the guy. So he makes all the excuses in the world. Tell me if you relate to this. Moses answered, what if they don't believe me or listen to me and say, the Lord didn't appear to you? The Lord said to him, okay, what is that in your hand? It's a staff, because I'm taking care of sheep, right? Okay, throw it on the ground. So Moses throws it on the ground. This would freak me out. And it became a snake, and he was like, whoa! And he ran from it, because that would be weird. And the Lord said to him, reach your hand, take it by the tail. I don't like snakes. I wouldn't do that. God's telling me. Okay, so Moses reached out, took the snake, boom, back into his staff in his hand. God's starting to show him, I'll be with you. Don't worry about it. Look at this. This should let you know I am God. You're good. Not good enough. I got another excuse for you. Oh, sorry. This said the Lord. It is so that they may believe the Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob has appeared to you. You can prove it. This is your proof. And the Lord said, this would be crazy. Put your hand inside your cloak. Moses puts it in there. He says, take it out. And his skin was leprous. And it became as white as snow. That'd be weird. That kind of freak you out. Put it back in. Okay. Pull it back out. Ta-da! Restore it again. Isn't it cool how God works? He's starting to gain his superhero powers. But they're not his powers. This story isn't about Moses, really. It's about God. So if we can just get there. The stories of our lives, it's not about you. It's not about me. It's not like God's going to use Gavin. Gavin's going to become this great thing. No. God's going to go speak through me so that God can be glorified. It's a God story. When God calls and we're afraid, don't be afraid. God's going to work through you. He's going to give you the things you need. He's going to make his name proclaimed to those who need to hear. And the Lord said, if they don't believe you, pay no attention to the first sign, they may believe the second one. Oh, you didn't like the snake trick? Look at this. Magic. Okay. But if they don't believe these two signs or listen to you, take some water from the Nile, pour it on dry ground. The water that you take from the river will become blood on the ground. He's given them all the creepy things. Snake, leprosy, blood. Believe me, God has sent me, right? It's cool. I like it. So Moses said to the Lord, okay, pardon your servant, Lord. Now that they may believe me, because you've taken away that excuse, pardon your servant. I have never been eloquent, neither in the past nor since you have spoken to your servant. I am slow to speech and tongue. A lot of people will take this as he has a stutter. That's what a lot of people think it was. So sure, they'll believe me, but then what am I going to say? I have a hard time doing this. When we ask that question, what do we do to God? This big God who shows us all these big things, speaks creation into existence, and just in this little brief time has showed you his power and majesty, and you immediately with this question make him very small. God, that's all cool, but how are you going to get me to talk better? You made me this way. I don't talk well. Never been eloquent. Never been able to share. The Lord said to him, who gave human beings their mouths? Who makes them deaf or mute? Who gives them sight or makes them blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Now go and I will help you speak, and I will teach you what to say. But Moses said, pardon your servant, Lord. Please send someone else. I could just see God in the bush. Right? What are we doing? God has an answer for every excuse. And your final excuse is, nope. Someone else. It's got to be someone else. Too scary. I don't believe in myself. And you know what? With all that said, I don't believe in you. I have to make this a moment. I'm going to take a little detour here. When you look at this and you throw some shade onto Moses and call him out on being this coward. Moses is running away because he just murdered somebody. He's been away for a while, but he's afraid because he knows what he has done and knows what he's capable of and knows pretty confidently what he's not capable of. And he feels like he hasn't even had this connection with God in all this time. You have an even better gift inside of you that was given to you. For us who believe that Christ came and died and rose from the dead, and we accepted him in baptism, we believe that we received this Holy Spirit. That when Christ ascended to heaven, that he had to, so that the Holy Spirit can live and dwell within us. That Holy Spirit gives us a power. The same power that raised Christ from the dead dwells and lives within us. That gives us strength and words that we don't know that we can have. And it gives us this ability to connect with God on a level that we were never able to do before Christ came and died and raised from the dead. And yet we still give the same excuses. And when he answers all of them, we still say, somebody else can do it. You don't believe me? How many times have you been asked to volunteer here? I'm not even God. And you're like, no thanks. And you know when you leave, I know you do, because I've done this. I've ran away from a lot of things. You feel that little guilt, like, I really should have done that. They'll find somebody. And we push back on every step that God pushes towards us. Moses isn't that lucky, though. He doesn't get off the hook. The Lord, his anger burned against Moses. And he said, fine. This your last excuse? What about your brother Aaron, the Levite? I know he can speak well. And he's already on his way to meet you. He'll be glad to see you. You shall speak to him and put words in his mouth, and I will help both of you speak and teach you what to do. He will speak to the people for you, and it will be as if he were your mouth and as if you were God to him. Whoa. But take the staff in your hand so you can perform the signs with it. At the end of all this, he keeps giving the excuses, and God just says, you need to just go. Go now. I am God. I think the best way that we can really relate to any of this is we know that we have the excuses, we know that we have the worries, we know that we have the doubts, we know that we aren't capable or qualified. Guess what? We aren't. There is nothing about us that is this great and special on our own. It was the same question that the disciples asked after Jesus went and talked to this, the rich young ruler comes to him and says, what do I need to do to gain eternal life? Good teacher? He says, why are you calling me good? There's only one that's good, it's God. And if you want to be my disciple, sell everything, give it all to the poor, and come with me. And he got really frustrated and sad because he had a lot of wealth. And he walked away with his head down. And his disciples said, if that guy can't get in, then who can? How is it possible? And Jesus said, with man, it's impossible. But with God, there's nothing that's impossible. This is the story in action. If you're watching a movie, this is it. What he's asking Moses to do is physically impossible on his own. There is no way Moses, with who he is, can go back to this giant group of Israelites and say, hey guys, guess what? God called me to come take you out of this place. They would laugh at him. They already ran him off when they said, what are you going to do, kill us too? It would be impossible. But Moses' transition from this man who is so fearful of who he can be, because it's really what it is, what he can be when he allows God to work within him, scares him to death. Because he knows it's going to put him in situations that he would rather not be in. That's why he ran away in the first place. He already knew that this was burning in his heart. That's why he killed the Egyptian in the first place, because he wanted to help and protect his people. But fear had him running away. God's power that he has to work within you when he calls you to his good work doesn't mean that your life is going to be easy. This is part 3. There's going to be some pitfalls. There's going to be some time in the wilderness. And you may not even see the promises that he asked you to do or bring people to. But the journey changes you, transforms you, and makes you from regular person that is so a mess, a disaster, into something that nobody would even recognize that they met you at the end of your life. Part 3 of Moses is going to be this, and this is where the story is going to go. I'll give you the heads-up version to make you want to come back next time. Moses goes from the most cowardly, excuse-making, murderous, angry person, fearful person, to a man that is described as a friend of God, the most humble man that ever walked the earth. That he was not just a prophet, but my friend, one of the only ones to see God, visually see him. And it wasn't because of anything that he did, but it was all about his humility before the Lord to allow him to work within him through his fear to be a courageous hero for the Lord. We have this opportunity, and we have something that's so much greater than just God coming this way, because God already came to this earth, provided this better connection and atonement with him through Christ. That now Christ sits at the right hand of God and he intercedes for us. That he works in the middle for the greater good of that we may do some things that we were never able to do before he came, because his Spirit dwells and lives within us. I pray that we can be bold people to step out in places that we are super uncomfortable at, to build reconciliation between God's people and him. And guess whose God's people are? It's not just the Israelites anymore. And it never was. All of us. We play the role of bringing people out of this captivity of sin and into the promised land of the kingdom. But it comes with bold people who are willing to allow God to work and move and dwell within them. He doesn't care for your excuses. Next week, we add another character to this story. The new Pharaoh. God works in the new Pharaoh. God doesn't work in a way that says, hey, Pharaoh, join the party. He knew that Pharaoh's heart was not going to ever allow God in it, and he allows it to be hardened. God will work in any way that God needs to work for the good of his glorious name. Let's be a part of the good side. Let's walk out in faith. I'm going to give you this challenge. There's 3 kinds of people in this world. We all fit this at some point. Maybe you linger in one longer than others. At some point in your life, you may be a Jonah, a Moses, or an Isaiah. I'm going to encourage you to lean towards Isaiah. Here's the story. You don't know Jonah? Maybe you don't. Jonah was asked to go to Nineveh, awful people, to ask them or command them to repent, turn to God. And he says, nope, and he runs away. And even when God pursues him, he doesn't do any of this with a cheerful heart. He does it to say, okay, watch, I'm going to do it. Just so I can say, I told you so, God. He's a runner. I'd rather do it my way. Then there's the Moses. Nope, I have excuses. Nope, I have excuses. Okay, fine. And then he turns into this great day. I think most of us sit there. Then there's the Isaiahs. Well, I don't know. The guy goes, hey, who am I going to send? And he goes, here I am, send me. No question, no qualms, just let's do this. This is also like I think a maturation of our faith. We get there at some point. Some of us linger a lot longer in other categories. Don't allow fear to dictate the life that you can live. Allow your courage in this beautiful connection with God to shine through in the way in which you live in this world. That whatever you do and whatever you do it all in the name of the Lord. That wherever you go from here, your superhero power may be like, I'm really good at getting lunch with people. And encouraging them, sitting with them and saying, man, it's good to know you. That's cool, man. That's awesome. Not a lot of people want to do that. Maybe you're a card sender to those who are in the hospital. Maybe you give a good word that people need to hear. You all have something that God's burned inside of you to do. And I pray that you allow that thing to shine. Let's go to God there. Dear Father, you're an amazing and awesome God. We don't understand why you love us so much, or why you want to pursue us, or why you desperately love to have a relationship with us. And I pray that, can we have that? Can you open our hearts to have that back with you without fear? That you bolden us to take a step into your light and allow you just the full reign of our hearts. That God, this broken body that I am can be such a beautiful blessing to your kingdom if I just allow you to piece it together. God, I pray that as we start to give you excuses, that you don't lose heart on us and you give us confidence in you. But I pray that we don't sit too long in our excuses, but instead we find whatever it is that we needed to hear in your word or through prayer, whatever it is, God, that you just strike a fire inside of us, that others will know who you are because of what you've done within us. By the way we talk and treat people, by the way we share a message, by the way we forgive, by the way we don't get hung up on things we don't need to be hung up on, so that people can receive this beautiful gift of grace that comes from Christ. God, we are so blessed that you love us this much. We pray all this in your son's name. Amen.